Women of Reddit, what is the grossest thing a man has said to you? When I was 18, I worked at a gas station mostly staffed by women. One of my co-workers was pregnant. We had a regular customer who came in a windowless van who would harass us constantly. He would hit on us and leer at us and sit in the parking lot in his creepy abductor van and catcall us if we were out sweeping the parking lot while he drank his coffee. The worst thing I heard him say was to my pregnant coworker. He asked her when she was going to have his baby. Our manager heard it and came down hard on him. She started screaming in his face, and to paint the picture, he was a tall lanky guy and she was a short stout lesbian with a butch haircut, and she banned him from the store. He huffed that he'd take his business elsewhere and she scoffed at him that his 2 coffee refills a day weren't going to break us and that she would not stand for him harassing her girls. That manager was a rock star, she always had our backs. After me and my friend refused drinks from him and didn't let him sit at our table, he said, "I hope we get into war so women like you get raped." He would find a drinking straw in unexpected places. When I was 11, I had sudden unexplained knee pain which resulted in me not being able to bend it and limping. I was constantly in and out of hospitals. It went on for months. I missed a lot of school and it really took a toll on my family and me because they couldn't explain it. So doctors came to the conclusion that it must be psychosomatic, but they sent me to some last expert, and one of the things he said to me that stuck with me till this day was, "Why don't you want to walk normally again? How would you ever find a boyfriend like that?" It was rheumatism BTW. Said to a younger me, a skinny little tween in my junior school uniform standing awkwardly nearby at the bus stop. "You know what you need? A good meal, and lots of sex." They needed a good whack, and lots off Yale time. "Hey little mama, with that booty let's make it legal." Random passerby in a car. I was 13 and didn't wear a pair of pants or shorts for almost 2 years after. I lived in dresses and skirts to hide my butt. I told my mom about it and that was when she sat me down and explained that grown-ass men hitting on girls is creepy and I had permission to flip them the bird. I'm a natural redhead, long auburn hair with curls that I've always had unwanted attention for. I remember I was 9 years old and sitting in a Chinese restaurant with my family when a male middle-aged waiter came to take our food and started complimenting my hair, which was fine and all, but he started touching it and massaging my scalp and shoulders, saying how I was so beautiful. This didn't seem to weird out my parents, but it made me very uncomfortable, but I didn't say anything because I was scared in case my parents would tell me that I was being rude. Probably not the grossest thing on this list, but the fact it was done to a 9-year-old little girl makes it downright creepy. "Toss that kid away, I'll give you a new one," from a middle-aged man in a convertible, when I was biking with my then 1-year-old. At work, a new hire looked at my shoes and stated those shoes are why women get raped. The shoes in question were platform wedge sandals, and I was the HR admin running his new hire orientation. "Girls like you get raped," said to me and cousin when we were 11 and 15 years old. We were playing with a huge chess set in the town square and he was watching us. He had been sitting mumbling and staring before this loud declaration. We called my dad to come get us after he continued talking loudly about us to himself. According to my dad, he was harmless but not mentally well. "You can earn my respect back through your sexual penance." TF type of kingdom did you live in? 2 post-Augustine Roman, I think. When I was 16, me and my sister were walking in the mall and we stopped to get food. While we were waiting for our food court sushi to be ready, I overheard this group of guys talking. One goes, "Bet I can get the fattest, most ugly chick to have sex with me." They laughed and all started talking about how they think he couldn't. Then someone replied with, "Fine then, her right there." It was me. Of course it was me. He came up to me and put his arm around my shoulder and asked me what my name was while calling me girly. Me, at the time being in panic mode, told him my name. He proceeded to ask me if I would want to fuck him. I just walked away. I was in disbelief that what happened just happened. "Are you a washing machine? I wanna chuck my dirty load in you takes the cake." Nothing has even come close to that guy. Top 10 worst pickup lines goes to this guy. I was 11 or 12. Walking home from school. Older guy rides by on a bike and yells, "I want to stick my CCK in you." I was terrified. Ran home as fast as I could. I didn't fully understand what he meant, but I knew it was bad. It still upsets me when I remember it. I'm 60 years old. I was working at a hardware store and helping a guy when a female coworker walked by. He said, I would eat a yard of her shit just to lick the bowl. I will probably never forget that. You have some nice DSL, why don't you come over here and show me what they do? DSL, D sucking lips. I was 15 years old. Creep, how old are you? Me, 13, creep, you look 18, want to hang out. At a restaurant with some girlfriends. Creep, hey girl, how old are you? You look 15. My friend, I just turned 21. Creep, yeah, that's cool. It's so hot that you look 15. All women look the same if you turn them upside down. You're so hot. Ugh. I love jailbait. I was 14 years old. She's perfect. I heard as I was about 15 or 16 working a late night drive-through fast food window. Van of about 5 men. Driver proceeded to grab my entire arm, half yanking me out the window and into the van. Legit luck that another employee finished cleaning the dining room and ran over to pull me back after rounding the corner. T had a great relationship. Our store manager and the owner SWA reported it. Manager was also a little pervy, so he ignored it, but the owner requested tapes and actually did some follow-up at least. No ending here. I wore a smaller size of my uniform top to school once because my normal one was stained with coffee. A guy classmate walked up to me and said, I bet you'll love when I rip that off you and rape you, won't you? I reported him to the teacher and wore hoodies for the rest of the school years. He got suspended and had to apologize in front of the whole cohort, and he never approached me again. You should get a tattoo on each thigh, Thanksgiving on one, and Christmas on the other. This way, people can eat between the holidays. My 30-something neighbor to 12-year-old me. The worst part about being a woman is that this shit starts before you're even a woman. I was like 12, and accidentally caught my uncle watching on. I left as fast as I could, but he told me to come into his room and he G-U'd me to his lap. And he hugged me while it played. He watched it. I just looked at the floor and said I was going back outside to play with my sisters. All he said was he could show me how to do the stuff in the video. This might be the worst one here. I'm terribly sorry and hope you are okay. Happened while working. I was doing an inspection at one of those bars/clubs for veterans. I was walking around the bar area with my flashlight when this guy, late 60s to 70s, said, let me unzip my pants for you to check. My smart-ass mouth immediately replied, this is a flashlight, not a magnifying glass. Either his hearing sucked or the music was a bit too loud, so luckily he didn't hear me, or I probably would have been in deep shit with my supervisor. About roughly 12 to 13 years old, I was an early developer, so was quite filled out, but this comment from an old man in the store was not warranted in the slightest. You've got great birthing hips. I was walking my dog when a man stopped me to ask about him. I thought we were having a nice, casual conversation, so I didn't think much of it when he asked me if I had kids. When I told him I do not, and that I do not want them at this time in my life, he proceeded to ask me where I live and tell me that he was going to break into my house and rape me. He described his plans for how this would occur in graphic detail. This happened to my friend, and worst of all, it was my BF, now my ex, who said it. He was also her best friend and one of the few guys she trusted. She was talking about being assaulted sexually in her past, and she said, luckily I have never been raped, and his response was, that's because you haven't been in a room alone with me. Didn't find this out until after we broke up. I'm an RN in a clinic, and I was rooming a patient who was making a few comments that made me a little uncomfortable. Nothing too crazy, but I was keeping quiet and just doing my job. His response? You know silence means consent, right? I literally just got up and left room to grab the male doctor to finish his vitals. I was 16. Very heavy period, and this guy kept asking to go down on me, so I finally told him why I kept saying no, and he says, imagine my tongue as a vacuum cleaner, and I have never been more put off. It's literally been 10 years since this, but I remember every single detail of this moment in time. It still horrifies me. My now ex-boyfriend said something to his friends when in private he'd say the opposite to me. I can't even remember what it was now. I said, did you just lie to your friends, or do you lie to me when you say, I can't remember, whatever it was? He said, don't open your mouth unless my D is going in. Well, 7 years ago my stalker ex found my new number and my house after finding my new Facebook profile and saw the picture of me and my then boyfriend as my profile picture. He called me and said he saw my profile picture and he rattled off my new address to me and told that he was going to burn my house down with me and my new boyfriend in it since he couldn't be with me. A hotel staff member asked me my room number so he could drop by later. This was whilst on my honeymoon and my husband was slightly in front. The hotel worker said it quietly to me. "You're my property." Redheads taste like oranges. Followed by the thing Hannibal Lecter does after talking about human liver and fava beans. There are many others, but that one stands out for its uniqueness. First and foremost, had a boyfriend go into detail about how he was attracted to his niece. He was 21 and she was 7. He told me he was going to try to stop being alone her because he didn't know what he would do. I wish so with badly I had done something, but I didn't know who to tell about this or how to prevent him from hurting this little girl. Needless to say, I left him after that and he convinced all my friends I cheated on him and they took his side. Second, had a supervisor, retail job, tell me that I should wear low-cut shirts and offer to go on dates with men if they'd sign up for our rewards program. I reported him but nothing happened. I had a man, when I told him I didn't want to be his mistress, tell me how easy it would be to commit murder and suicide. Do it but in reverse order, please. I was 18 and serving an old guy by taking him to his table and talking with him as a hostess should, and I asked him if he had any other plans for the night, and he looked me up and down and said in a very serious tone and face, "Well, you are still dressed, so nothing yet." I was so grossed out he laughed it off and walked away as fast as possible after getting him to his table. Not haha funny. Haha. Weird. My real name is food related, think Chardonnay, Clementine, Sherry, etc. I had a 55-plus man say to me while I was at work, "Oh, your name is X. I wonder what you taste like." Wink. I walked away immediately. Got a random message from an unknown old guy on Facebook saying, "Come, drink from me." Was he nailed to a crucifix in his profile pic? I'm disgusted to touch you. My dog is better than you, at least it comes and licks me. I'm from ABC ethnicity and you're from XYZ. You're anyway inferior than my kind. Context: a guy was interested in me and I wasn't and had been clear about it repeatedly. He clearly couldn't take rejections, but I gave him a benefit of doubt. I was out with other guy friends of mine and he couldn't contain his anger. And drunk calls me the same night saying all these BS. Though I took some legal actions later and dude got served karma pretty well, but it was so gross and haunts me to this date. Not a female, but I was talking to a guy from work and he saw a little girl walking by. He was watching her very closely and I spoke up. He turned to me and said, "Old enough to bleed, old enough to breed." He got arrested shortly after for sexual offenses. I was a telemarketer for one summer. One guy ended a perfectly pleasant phone call with "Have fun masturbating." I wasn't expecting it and said "you too" automatically. Felt gross the whole damn day. Another time I was on a bus on my way to a Halloween party wearing zombie makeup and the biggest freaking winter coat on the northern hemisphere. A guy loudly proclaimed to his friend I'd still F that. Then tried to start a conversation with me. Bleg. Redhead here. Is it true what say about redheads in the bedroom? And my personal favorite, does the carpet match the drapes? Seriously, total strangers, red hair does not you license to ask me if I'm wild in bed or the color of my pubic hair. Creeps. Editing to add, I had some random yell out a window, "Hey, white girl, come s my d." I was 14 and I was walking a park to go running. I was in XC. And it was the weekend. And the old man at the bus stop who pulled his pants and underwear down and started yelling pee. An acquaintance, friend of some extended family, who I hadn't seen in years, asked me if my dad had trouble keeping his hands off me because I had developed boobs since he'd last seen me. I was alone in the office with my boss at the time. He was 57 and on his third marriage and I was 31 32 and single. "When I'm naughty I like to be really naughty," he said to me. So, effing gross. I asked a male coworker if he was okay standing at the host stand while I ran to the bathroom and he responded with, "Only if you give me a kiss when you get back." I had talked to this guy maybe twice, only about work and had to process what he said. It wasn't that gross until he actually tried to kiss me when I was back.